Well, I was musing the other day. I was musing as I was spraying my roses. I don't know whether you muse, like I muse sometimes, and ponder things which seem inexplicable, and a lot seems inexplicable these days. I was musing on corruption, political corruption in Great Britain. Now, we know, do we not, that if you go back to the time of the Restoration, if you go back to the time of Charles II, Restoration, we know that there was an awful lot of corruption in public life. And if you read the diaries of Samuel Pepys and so on and so forth, you can see how all that unfolded itself, especially with things like the Admiralty, and of course who suffered at the end of the day with the stealing of money and the stealing of sailors' food and all the rest of it, right down to the level of Royal Naval captains. Of course, it's the little guy, it's the ordinary seaman at the end of the day who suffers, and it was ever thus when you have the great and the good stealing money. And that was in the Restoration. It went on to the time of Walpole. I mean, the Walpole administration was horrifically corrupt and quite dreadful. And this went on also right up until, perhaps one might argue, historians may or may not agree, at the beginning of the Victorian era, when things became very much more straightforward and honest in most cases, than they were hitherto. Yes, we know that Lloyd George sold honours for cash in the post-Edwardian era, but of course let's just ponder that's still going on today, and it's pretty well up front. You know, I mean, if you want to get a seat in the House of Lords or a knighthood, you just write your political party of choice, or is in government, a check. All perfectly straightforward. Nothing's changed there. Nothing probably will ever change while we have an honours system, which is an anachronism, of course, but that's for another clip. So this has been going on for some time, and of course Africa is like it, and has been like it, and will remain like it forever, because corruption is not seen as a sin, if you will. If you get to be Chancellor of the Exchequer or President of an African country, in the main, you stuff it with all your family or members of your tribe, and you put your hand in the till as deeply as you can. It's expected. It's expected. It isn't considered to be naughty in any way. But here we seem to have an interesting concept, and I don't know whether you ever ask yourselves these questions. For me, it started perhaps in the days of Edward Heath, who was a keen ocean yachtsman, ocean racing, which is the most expensive sport in the world and has been for over 100 years. It's extremely expensive, as you can imagine. You know, to kick off, you need a yacht and a crew. It's not like a set of golf clubs, is it? So there was Edward Heath, the son of a grocer. Nothing wrong with that, well done him. However, where did all his money come to go ocean racing? Who was picking up the tab? Now, when Edward VII was, and he was Prince of Wales, and he was ocean racing, we knew who was picking up the tab. We knew which friends of his were picking up the tab. And we knew where their money had come from, the likes of Thomas Lippman and so on and so forth, and the great tea magnates, so on and so forth. So we know that people were sponsoring him, but they were sponsoring largely for social elevation rather than political gain in the main. But now we have a very interesting situation. So where did Edward Heath's money come from, one asks oneself? And then we see, do we not, Tony Blair, who became Prime Minister on what is a relatively modest salary grade, well, now one of the richest men in the world. And apparently his son's immensely rich as well. We see the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Osborne, who was Chancellor of the Exchequer for a few years. Suddenly, when he finishes, he walks into a job with a massive investment bank, BlackRock, on £500,000 or £600,000 a year, and he only has to turn up once a week, if that. One has to ask oneself, what favours did he do the City of London, and I'm ex-City of London myself, what favours did he do to pick up that stipend in his retirement from politics? And one also might ask, where is the investigative journalism to find out? Why aren't the press interested? You think they would be, wouldn't you? Now, we know where the big shots, we know where Jeff Bezos, we know where Elon Musk, we know where Bill Gates got their money. That's pretty straightforward. And we also know how they fiddle their taxes, which is probably straightforward because they set up charitable trusts. It's an oldest trick of the book. I used to do that kind of stuff for a living myself when I was in the city. But leaving that aside, it's a sort of one tier down. It's your ministers who seem to live in the most astonishing houses. John Selwyn Gummer, I saw a picture of his house the other day, and he was an agricultural minister, a man of no great talent or aptitude for anything as far as I know, but he's living in a huge house, film star stuff. Nancy Pelosi in America, and you can see all the American politicians and the British politicians. Where does all this money come from? And you have to ask yourself, there's such big money around now. When you have the COVID thing, you're looking at deals for pharmaceutical companies, companies who manufacture masks, companies who manufacture protective gear, a lot of which, of course, has been thrown away and burnt. We're talking 30, 40 billion. This is huge money. And I'd like to know, it's all on the signature of very ordinary people who have climbed the greasy political pole. Not inherently rich men at all, but they're going to retire very rich. And I want to know what stuck to their fingers. What stuck to their fingers when they were in office? Where is investigative journalism? I think we need to know, because this is all about money at the end of the day. And I've said this on many occasions. Always follow the money. And it's the same across the world when we are £1 billion a month in foreign aid. We don't know where it goes. There's no serious audit trail. It disappears into Africa. It disappears into the Indian subcontinent. It even disappears into New York with people sitting on massive charities with their hand in the till. And we all know who they are. So that was what I was musing over as I sprayed my roses. You have a muse too, because at the end of the day, it's your pocket these bastards have got their hand in. Well, greetings to you. As you know, social media was a wonderful invention so that we could all communicate with each other and share our views, and share views that aren't necessarily in line with the establishment, the global establishment, which is run mainly by banks and big pharma. So I've been doing my best to do that, but I am increasingly being shadow banned or taken down, and so are many others. So beware of that, and I will be tagging anything I do in the future with various sources and various channels, so that you will know, well, I've been censored from this, but I've been censored, but you can find it somewhere else. So the whole thing can continue. And I think some of these new channels, which aren't owned by the establishment or influenced by the establishment, banks and big pharma and all the rest, you'll be able to follow the facts. And that doesn't mean fact checkers, of course, which are owned by the establishment. So I just thought I'd give you the heads up on that. And thank you for your sponsorship and your support. I thank you for it. Without you and the information that sometimes you people send me, I couldn't continue. Thank you again. As most of you know, my work is very heavily independently research based, and I get my information from all over the world. It would help if you press the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, because the more subscribers I have, the more likely it is that international independent research institutes will share their material with me. It's most helpful, and then of course I automatically share it with you. So surprise, won't cost you anything. Thank you very much.